Well, hello there, Facebook world, and welcome to another 5-minute Saturday Science Fiesta. Well, we try to keep it 5 minutes. It's a work in progress.
10, 15.
I'm Rodney Habib. Welcome to my Rodney Habib page. Joining me, as always, is the incredible, the legendary Dr. Karen Becker. And we are here today to do another debunking food myths, one of the most important segments that I believe that we've done. We've done avocados, we've done eggs, we've done a whole bunch of these human foods according to some of the most popular websites in the world, the AKC, the HSUS, a whole bunch of the big sites where people go to find out if foods are toxic to animals. Some have listened to us and revamped their sites. Others not so much.
Some websites, we're so thankful, have reviewed the content that they're put on their websites and recognize that it can be partial truths, half-truths, urban legends not rooted in science, as well as clarifying statements. For instance, many websites 10 years ago, and a few today that we're going to call out because we think you can do better, pet-loving websites, confuse true toxicosis, which means a food contains a known toxicant, with a choking risk or a common sense thing like don't feed 7.5 pounds of a high-fat brand new food your dog or cat has never eaten. Unfortunately, many websites still lump all of these issues like a choking risk or GI upset or could cause vomiting if fed in excess. They lump it into the toxic category, and that's what we're here to clarify today, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. We want everybody to celebrate feeding fresh foods, to avoid the same thing that your doctor would tell your mother: avoid eating as much ultra-processed food as possible and try to add in as much fresh, whole, live food as possible. We know there's a lot of pesky manufacturers out there creating some food fears.
I do think that these initial food fears came about from pet food companies in the 60s and 70s who said, feed your pet anything but our food. Never feed your pet anything but pet food, or your pet could have diarrhea or get sick. And out of these 30, 40-year-old marketing schemes, some websites have kind of said, ooh, maybe you should only feed pet food kibble day in, day out till pets die. But we know that that's not true. And we're so thankful for the companies that have clarified and updated their websites. There are a few more websites that need to be improved. Here they are.
Now, to my fellow pet parents who are watching this and constantly posting, you can't feed that food, it's not that great. Check out some of this latest science. All right, we made this snazzy food chart for you here. These are the top 7 human food myths that are going. Now, number 7 being the least most posted out of the 4 most trusted websites in the world that people go to for information. And number 1 being the most unanimous toxic human food that we're going to debunk today, according to these websites. So let's start down here at the very bottom. Now, this is the HSUS, Dr. Becker, the Humane Society in the United States.
Come on, Humane Society in the United States, come on. Here's the deal. Some tea has caffeine. Green and black tea has a little bit of caffeine. Obviously, don't feed caffeine to pets, obviously. But you can get decaf, organic black and green tea that has incredible health benefits. In fact, there's a ton of science demonstrating that tea polyphenols decrease inflammation in dogs. Hopefully you can see that. There's great studies demonstrating that green tea improves insulin sensitivity in obese dogs. There is fantastic research showing tea added to dog food increases antioxidants in the pet food. And last but not least, all herbal teas are naturally decaffeinated. So, Humane Society of the United States, what I want you to put on your website is teas are the cheapest, best form of free, almost free, polyphenols and flavonoids that you can give your animals. Just avoid the caffeinated options. This way, you're not having people fear tea, you're inspiring people to feed tea. Just feed decaffeinated tea. Last but not least, all herbal tea is decaffeinated, and chamomile tea after surgery decreases cortisol spikes. It's a really good thing to give medicinally post-surgery.
Hey, we're at 5 minutes.
Oh no, let's move along. What's number 6? Rosie?
All right, number 6 on the list. Now this one is crazy to me. This is Pets Best Health Insurance. I think it's like the 3rd most searched site in the world, Pets Best. If you're listening to this, what the heck are you guys thinking over there? Are you ready for it? Broccoli, apparently, according to Pets Best, quote, It's probably best to avoid them on their website, and broccoli stalks can also sometimes get caught in the throat, causing an obstruction.
So Pets Best, I get it. Large things are choking hazards. Sure. You don't see human insurance companies dissuading human parents from feeding broccoli to their kids because it's a good, nutritious food. Pets Best, broccoli is a good, nutritious food. It's unbelievable. What you should say, Pets Best Insurance, is chop the broccoli so that your dog's not going to choke. But don't say it's a toxic food.
Come on, man. Look, I already did a broccoli Facebook Live. It's here inside Scooper's Facebook community if you're looking for it. Now, there's a whole bunch of studies. I'm not going to waste anyone's time on this. This is so damn ridiculous. Check it out. Scottish Terriers, when fed cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, almost a 80% reduction in the risk of bladder cancer. We have more studies pertaining to broccoli and cancer in dogs in the way of sulforaphane. And then check it out, sulforaphane in the way of kidney apoptosis.
Yeah.
Killing off bad cells in broccoli. Like, who's working there?
So Pets Best, if you want to keep broccoli up, what you should say is any extra large fruits or vegetable, chop it up. Make bite-sized pizzas. Puree it for animals that wolf their foods down. But for you to insinuate that broccoli is toxic or should not be fed,
you see what scares pet parents?
Yep.
It's all this weird stuff.
Let's just stop the food fears.
Okay, now as we start to ramp up, we are ramping up the food myths and the urban legends. Now, this one comes from the ASPCA. First of all, shout out to the ASPCA.
Yes.
You guys have made a lot of changes over the years with our Facebook Lives, debunking a lot of these food myths, and we appreciate it. But, what the heck is going on here?
So,
Coconuts, coconut oil, avoid.
So, ASPCA, we do love the fact that you have radically revamped your website since our previous Facebook Live. Thank you. What I would like you to add pertaining to coconut oil is that diets with coconut oil, MCT oil, from coconuts improves the signs of epilepsy. We know that MCT oil is one of the best things that epileptic patients can eat. And another study demonstrating that home-cooked diets fortified with extra virgin coconut oil improved stool consistency of dogs. So the cool thing about MCT oil, ASPCA, is that it's the one medium chain fat that's passively absorbed through the GI wall, which means it doesn't require lipase, the digestive enzymes secreted from the pancreas, for its absorption, which means even animals that have pancreatitis or are sensitive to fat, it's a really great fat for animals that just need extra sources of calories and healthy fats without taxing the pancreas. That would be a great update.
All right. The number 4 urban legend that we're here to debunk today. Now, this one is from the HSUS and Pets Best Health Insurance, who just told you broccoli was bad. Gosh. Mushrooms. Now, listen. First of all, shout out to the SPCA and to the AKC for removing mushrooms off of your toxic list. But to the other two, just listen to the doctor.
So, come on, guys. We're not talking about going into the woods and eating unknown strange mushrooms that you happen to find. That could kill you, your kids, 2- and 4-legged. We are talking about the medicinal, incredibly beneficial, nourishing medicinal mushrooms that not only improve health and well-being for your 2-legged kids, but are amazing for your 4-legged family members as well. Research continues to come out. Here's a study on lion's mane mushroom demonstrating that it improves immune health, gut health, and has anti-obesity effects in dogs. Here's another study demonstrating that shiitake mushrooms makes pet foods more palatable. They're using it as a palatability enhancer, certainly not toxic. And here's another study demonstrating that chaga mushroom enhances the effects of chemotherapy. It's fantastic for animals fighting cancer. So rather than say don't feed mushrooms, what you should say is feed medicinal and culinary mushrooms that you buy at the grocery store. All the mushrooms that you buy at the grocery store are safe for your 2- and 4-legged kids. Just add that on, please. Pets Best Insurance and ASPCA. Let's go a little bit further and decrease those mushroom food fears.
Now, we were posting a couple food hacks that you should be aware of to all my mushroom junkies out there when you are shopping. I did a post yesterday talking about the reduced aisle. You'll find a lot of organic mushrooms in that reduced aisle. A great place and great value to buy some of your medicinal mushrooms or some of your culinary mushrooms to add into your bowl. Remember, all mushrooms have a lot of benefit. Also, that reduced aisle is not just about like A lot of people were saying it's like gross and moldy foods. A lot of the dented foods that make their way into that, according to longevity scientist Dr. David Sinclair, more polyphenols because they've taken more damage.
True.
So sometimes those reduced-tiles can have better vegetables. Also, quick food hack, the mushroom itself, a lot of people just eat this part, discard this part. According to Dr. William Lee, food scientist, double the amount of fiber, double the amount of beta-glucans, double the amount of polysaccharides, double the amount of bioactives, and people throw this in the garbage. So if you're broke, you got no money, go visit one of your local restaurants, your pizzeria in town. Most pizzerias throw this out. Get these put in a bag, bring them back home for your dog for free.
But most importantly, websites, quit telling people that all mushrooms are toxic.
You actually live longer according to science. All right. Now, number 3 on the list, again, HSUS and Pets Best, meaning the AKC and the ASPCA stepped up and fixed their websites, who we are very appreciative for. This used to be, Dr. Becker, number 1 on most food fear charts were avocados. Now, it's calmed down. Major websites have now slowly removed it. Dr. Becker and I have done a massive Facebook Live. You can find it on this page where we broke down and debunked it with science.
Yeah.
Shout out to the 2 that have taken it down, the 2 major sites. But come on, guys.
In the last 5 years, since we did that first avocado debunking Facebook Live, millions of you watched it. And since then, millions of you feeding the avocado flesh to your pets. And you have seen the benefits. Incredible healthy fats that nourish the skin and coat, nourish cognition and brain function, improve cellular health. Avocados are a rich source of lipase, the digestive enzyme that breaks down the healthy fats that are in it. Not to mention lutein, great for eye health. Avocados are amazing. But of course, would you ever feed your 2-legged kid the outside rind? No. Would you feed your kid the pit on the inside? No. Don't feed those parts to your dogs either. Just like common sense. Here's what's interesting.
Favorite studies.
One research paper actually, don't do this, but they ground up the whole avocado and fed it to dogs. What'd they find, Rodney?
6-month study in a potent tincture. Procter & Gamble funded this bugger. 6 months they fed dogs avocados, fully ground up, the entire thing in a potent extract. No problems. All dogs seem healthy according to the researchers. So, come on, guys. Let's update those sites.
Avocado flesh, the parts that you would eat, is a fantastic treat topper add-in for dogs and kitties if they'll eat it. No problem. What's the next one?
Okay, now here's where this is going to get a little bit wonky. These next 2 are actually now all the websites. So there was a lot of love for some of the websites as we were going up the list here, but now we're going to hit a little bit of a standstill. And the next one, the number 2 most purported urban myth, toxic ingredient, nuts and seeds.
So, just as the initial food fears surrounding avocados came from one study where 2 starving dogs ate the leaves and stems of avocados and had some serious consequences. The nut study is very similar. There is one study on black walnuts, but not this type of black walnut, not the black walnut that you buy at the store. The study that was done that created all the food fears surrounding walnuts were from dogs. Pardon me, we don't have a black walnut tree in our yard, but the one study done was done on a 12-year collective kind of study based on dogs that had black walnut trees in their yard, dogs that had access to the actual husk that fell, that got moldy on the outside, which are called mycotoxins, and dogs that ate or chewed the tree bark itself. So what that study showed was that when the husk falls from a black walnut tree in your yard, and that what's inside the husk, the outside can be covered with potent, deadly mycotoxins called fungal toxins called mycotoxins that your pet should not eat. Inside is the actual seed, and inside of the seed is the actual edible part. Sorry. This part is not toxic to dogs. The husk if you have a black walnut tree, can absolutely contain mycotoxins that you do not want your dog or cat or anything to eat, especially horses. Nothing should eat moldy husks. And black walnut wood contains a substance called juglin, which absolutely can cause problems. Here's the conclusion to the study. The result of this one study inciting all this fear about walnuts is that the result of the present study shows that the clinical syndrome associated with the ingestion of black walnut wood, if your dog eats black walnut wood, that there is significant potential neurologic side effects, and that dogs had distinctly different issues if they ate the husk. So don't let your dog chew on a black walnut tree. Now, insurance companies and was it ASPCA? And HSUS. What would be great is if you could say, hey, if you have a black walnut tree in your yard, do not let your dog or any animal, including horses, eat the wood or the husk. You also should not make wood shavings out of black walnut trees because even the wood shavings can be toxic to livestock and horses. But the fruit itself is safe. In fact, we know that black walnut extract is used in wound healing for dogs. And when you say to avoid all seeds and nuts because the wood of the black walnut tree can be potentially toxic, you're kind of lumping everything together and making it very confusing. Seeds and nuts in general are a fantastic source of minerals, a great source of vitamin E, and some studies demonstrating that, for instance, flax and sunflower seeds enhance skin and coat health in dogs. And in this study, almonds and pistachios do a great job of enhancing the microbiome profile for dogs. So the only nut that you should avoid feeding is macadamia nuts. We have not identified a known toxin in macadamia nuts, but we think that because macadamias are so high in fat, if an animal is prone or unable to digest fat, that they can have significant consequences. So across the board, all veterinarians, including myself, say no macadamias.
Okay, AKC, when you say do not eat almonds, they say that they can potentially, if your dog, and I got into this with Mr. Sulu from Star Trek. Shout out to George, is it Takai? I always say that wrong. Apologies if I mutilated it. But we argued about this, that when you feed dogs almonds, apparently it tears their windpipe and almonds can shoot out of their windpipe.
Well, first of all, you don't eat through your windpipe. That would mean that if your child, 2 or 4-legged, if your toddler or your dog inhales an almond, could it get stuck in the windpipe? Yes. If you have a child or dog that tends to inhale their food, don't give them this because your toddler and dog could inhale this in the windpipe and it could cause serious tracheal damage. Don't do that. Chop it up. But to say that almonds are toxic because they're a potential choking hazard is just plain confusing. Almonds have known toxicant properties. Almonds are not only safe, they're healthy and amazing in terms of a nutritional powerhouse food source.
All right. You like these 5-minute Saturdays?
Rolling into 19.
She's very passionate about walnuts. All right. That brings us to the number one. You've probably already guessed it if you're a smart cookie. The number one most warned human food there is. You can see it here, hanging in my kitchen. By the way, I tidied up my kitchen for everybody before we got started today. The number one across the board, garlic being the most warned food according to all the websites. In fact, for the good folk over at Purina. We do know, Dr. Becker, that pet food manufacturers are also warning people. I mean, look at this big, beautiful article by Purina. Can dogs eat garlic? Right here on the bottom. It's bad for dogs, man. In fact, Purina says it's not worth it.
Don't do it.
Can't dose it. Your pet doesn't need it. All your pet needs is a balanced diet with vitamins and minerals. And please avoid garlic.
And then they put it in their food because it's fantastic for health. Confusing when Purina says don't feed it, but it's included in their veterinary diets and in their puppy diets. Garlic is safe and healthy at normal amounts that your dog and or cat would eat. In fact, the NRC has safe dosing guidelines approved for dogs and cats. So it's frustrating when everyone says don't do it and the National Research Council says it's safe. Here are the appropriate dosing guidelines. Now is the time to update and change outdated websites.
All right, where does the rumor come from? Dr. Becker and I on the Forever Dog Facebook page have done like a giant debunking of garlic, but just a quick Coles notes for those of you that have missed it. Imagine if you had fed a dog 245 cloves of garlic in a week. I mean, I wouldn't even want to hang around anybody that's eaten 2 cloves of garlic in that week.
And those dogs were force-fed that. Gross. No dog would ever voluntarily eat that much.
Now, here's what they found in the trial. Actually, no dogs died during that trial. In fact, none of the dogs showed any symptoms, but the scientists found microscopic changes in red blood cells. Now, that's what alerted the whole world. Everybody became panicked. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, garlic. Did you know those same scientists 4 years later did another study and found that garlic was actually good for the heart when tested on dogs? Here it is, what Dr. Karen Becker was talking about, the NRC, safety of dietary supplements for horses, dogs, and cats. In their study that was published and their PDF that was put out, they actually give a presumed safe intake, check it out, by the NRC, of garlic with dosages. And if you're looking for new science that never made the Facebook Live, just last year in 2023, they found that aged garlic extract helped with gingivitis in dogs.
So, what are the common sense conclusions to all this? Pretty basic. Feed the same parts of fruits and veggies to all your kids, 2- and 4-legged. You're not going to feed rinds, stems, pits, and cores to your 2- and 4-legged to your two-legged kids. Don't do it to your 4-legged kids either. And if you have an inhaling dog, chop the pieces up or whiz them up so that they don't choke. It's like basic common sense. What does the European and U.S. Pet Food Association say the foods that we should avoid? Grapes, onions, and macadamia nuts. That's the list. 3 foods. Don't feed them because we just have seen consequences that we can't figure out. Just to be safe, don't do it. But 3 foods versus all that list unnecessarily.
Listen, my fellow pet parents, we're not saying go hog wild on some of these whole fresh foods, but we are talking about variation, moderation, and balance, diversifying the microbiome. As microbiologists tell us, the more diverse your microbiome, the healthier you live, the longer you live, and we're trying to get people off as much ultra-processed food as possible, and their pets, obviously, and to bring in more minimally processed foods for longer life, longer health. Last week, in case you missed it, we did the food adulteration chart. You guys absolutely went bananas over it. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of downloads. If you missed it, you didn't watch it last week, make sure we have a free download. If you're a retailer, if you want to keep it in your pocket as a pet parent, put it on your phone. But it shows you from greatest to least adulteration how to choose a pet food. Obviously, you want something today. Check out the link section.
This is a really nice free recipe.
So we were going to talk about eggs because there are some sites that talk about the dangers of eggs, which is crazy. One of the most bioavailable sources of protein in the world, arguably the #1 source of protein, aka multivitamin, that you can ever put in your food amongst experts around the world.
Not only all the amino acids, but also choline, an incredibly important and valuable nutrient for dogs and cats. And most dogs and cats benefit from additional choline, not to mention taurine. Eggs are a very rich source of taurine. So using eggs and healthy fat-rich avocados is one of the best ways that you can bolster and really upgrade any bowl regardless of what you're feeding.
All right, so in the new book that's coming out, The Forever Dog Life, that a lot of you have smashed and pre-ordered, we want to give you a free recipe. Look at these beauties.
They're so good.
And we put these out. These were some of the most raved beauties there are. Deviled avocado eggs. This is going to be incredible for brain health, for eye health, for heart health, for skin and coat. You can make these, you can put them on top of your foods. So if you're a retailer, print these out, put them in your pet store for people to walk in to enhance the foods that they buy at their shops. All of the benefits. Oh, and by the way, put a little bit of broccoli sprouts, hope you're listening, Pets Health Insurance Company, packed with sulforaphane, a zillion types of diseases it can combat. One of the most incredible ads onto your bowl. Free recipe in the comment section. Click on the little link there. You'll see it there as well. As always, Hope you enjoyed today's 5-minute science Saturday.
Almost, not quite. Drats. Better next week.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.